lot of people there saying the stock market is getting into a bear market, or it's already in a bear market, and when everybody runs, you should jump in and buy. Should you go all out, or should you have some patience and be watchful and thoughtful about it?
What happens when there's a tariff war is, look, then you have political instability.
iPhone, which is you can buy it for $1,000, soon it could be $2,000 if the tariff stays the way it is. You should look what happened to the last tariff situation, and then what went up or what went down.
Correct.
And then base it on that.
Correct.
Base it on that, and then make an educated guess.
You shouldn't be going into like all these equities, right? You've got to protect your assets. You know, I've had multiple clients come to me and go, oh, I made a huge gain of $80,000. They lost it 2 weeks later.
I want you to start with the stock market. What is happening in the current situation? Why is it happening? And what should the investor should look out for? And then I have a few other questions that I'm going to come to you.
So I'm sure everyone's seen that we had a huge drop today, right? That is probably one of the biggest drops since COVID, right? But what is going on this right now is we're about to hit what they call basically a tariff war, right? So that is causing chaos in the market. It's putting fear, right? If you look at the 10-year treasury, right, that's with T-bills, everyone's going into that. That's why you guys seen the T-bill drop below 4%, okay? We haven't seen that since probably 6 months ago, right, when the rates were real low, before Trump got into office. So what can we do to protect ourselves, right, in this situation, right? So you saw the tech stocks are getting hit, right? We all love our iPhones. That's going to be a real problem coming soon. How Apple's going to take care of that, we don't know. You guys also see what's going on with Tesla.
Correct, of course.
But that's not so much on the tariffs, right?
Right.
So look, the way to protect yourself is you got to say, okay, everyone's leaving the stock market. They're going to really hard assets, protected assets, like real estate, right? Real estate's protected. They're going to gold. They're going to, you know, commodities. Like, you got to protect yourself in a situation where you say, okay, what do I think is stable, right? What is a stable asset right now? It's obviously not equities, which are stocks. And it's definitely not crypto, okay? That's not where we want to be. We want to be hard assets. Hard assets, I mean, something you can touch, right? I can touch real estate, right? I can touch gold, right? That seems to be a big selling point right now.
Okay, so why is this happening? Many people are saying this is happening because of Trump's tariff. You just touched on one thing, that iPhone, which is you can buy it for $1,000, soon it could be $2,000 if the tariff stays the way it is.
It's not just the tariffs, okay? It's the other countries that are coming against us, right? So China, which is basically everything we have, right? They're saying they're going to put what is like 34%.
Correct.
Right? So that's another fear, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest fear. That's where we think the iPhone is made. It's not made in the United States.
Yeah, of course
right?
not.
It's made in China.
Yeah.
Right? So everything's going to become more expensive. Okay? And what happens when there's a tariff war is, look, then you have political instability.
Of course.
Right? And that's really where the fear is.
Which creates uncertainty.
Of course. And look, the stock market hates uncertainty.
Of course, because you don't know where you're heading.
You don't know where you're heading. We don't know what the next moves are. We don't know who's going to back down first, right? Chances are, we know this president pretty well, right?
Green light, red light, red light, green light.
No. So what I want everyone to do is, look, you shouldn't be going into like all these equities, right? You've got to protect your assets. You know, I've had multiple clients come to me and go, oh, I made a huge gain of $80,000. They lost it 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And guess what? They got to pay taxes on the 80.
Because that was the capital gain.
That's correct. Okay, so my suggestion is for, especially everyone I've been talking to, look, buy stuff that's buy real estate, right? Because you guys understand real estate. It's a simple asset, and I'm not telling you guys buy it in New York, right? You could buy Ohio, Pennsylvania, something that has some stability to it.
The whole real estate thing I'm going to come back around because this is a bigger part of our discussion. I just wanted to, you just mentioned a few things. So one thing you mentioned is that the turmoil that you see, it is, you have to be wary about this. You have to know what is happening, and don't invest in cryptocurrency like volatile assets or commodity. It's not an asset. I'll call it a commodity, crypto. And then you got to be very careful. So we hear all the time, buy low and sell high. Right, so the a lot of people there saying the stock market is getting into a bear market, or it's already in a bear market, and when everybody runs, you should jump in and buy. Should you go all out, or should you have some patience and be watchful and thoughtful about it?
No. So if you're going to do this, you want to do something called averaging, right? So you buy, say, every week as it's going down, you're buying, buying, buying. So yeah, you're averaging where the low is, right? That's going to give you a much better play as the market comes back.
Okay, if you were to tell your the viewers, current viewers, that hey, you need to stay away from certain things.
My suggestion with this is, look, history repeats itself.
Of course.
Okay? So this is not the first time we've been in this situation with tariffs.
Yeah, of course not.
Okay? So the best thing to do is look at what did well back during the tariff wars.
Very good point. Very good point. So people who are watching, you should look what happened to the last tariff situation, and then what went up or what went down.
Correct.
And then base it on that.
Correct.
Base it on that, and then make an educated guess.
Because, again, as we say, history repeats itself. This is not the first time.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, well, unlike this time, I would say differently. This time is very radical.
It is very radical, and everybody's just trying to muscle their way.
Yeah, muscle their way, piecing out the informations and trying to make sense out of it. Because even if you make U.S. cars, for example, except for even Tesla, you have battery packs and all these things coming from other parts of the world. You have the GM and the Chevy and whatnot. The motor.
Look, I wouldn't put my money in like consumer goods.
Okay.
That's what I really would not.
I was trying to get to that part of it.
Okay.
Right. So this is where you have to be very careful. Very, very careful. Things that come down has to come down. It's just a matter of time, how long or how fast or how prolonged.
It's really which country gives up first. Honestly.
Yeah. So who blinks first?
That's correct.
Whoever blinks first. Okay. So that's one thing. If you are an investor, you already said pay attention to what happened the last time. And make sure you base your decision on top of that.
Correct.
Stay away from volatility, stay away from those crypto assets, and go hardcore on physical assets.
Hard assets. Something you feel like you could touch, that's something that's here.
Not out in the air.
That's correct.
Okay, so I will just leave it at that. Because there's a lot more. It's a developing story.
Of course it is.
I mean, the stock market just lost $6 trillion in 2 days.
That's like today is exactly the same as when COVID started.
Yeah. So, and that's why they actually had this comparison saying, hey, it's since 2020, this is the biggest loss.
Of course.
And I'm not surprised. I mean, that was forced on us. And I mean, nobody shut down the stock market.
Correct.
But it was forced on us. And this is self-inflicted,
This is definitely self-inflicted, but at the same time, that we had no historical evidence.
Correct.
We had no idea which way to go, right? But this time around, we actually have historical evidence only going back to the 1900s.
1930s, 𝗧𝗕
But we had this before.
Yeah,
this happened.
Definitely. The last time I was checking, going back to 1930s, 𝗧𝗕, I'm not sure if they came up with this.
I wasn't born then.
Okay, all right, I was. So I was looking up, and then these two geniuses came up with 30% tariff. So what they did back in those days, they said, okay, you know what? Forget about the income taxes. We don't have income taxes, but we're going to collect money from the foreign countries by putting a tariff. And you know what it did? It lowered the export, lowered the import, of course, and it actually the inflation jumped up, and unemployment went from 4% to 16%.
নিউ ইয়র্ক থেকে সম্প্রচারিত TBN 24 টেলিভিশন বিশ্বজুড়ে বাঙালির কণ্ঠস্বর।